Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to the February 9th edition of the Bracketology update. And man, just take a look at this bracket. So much movement, and now that we are done with the Super Bowl, which was not really a good Super Bowl, just kept expecting the Chiefs to make a comeback, but they never did. But congratulations if you're a Buccaneers fan. But now we can finally turn our national attention over to college basketball. We have about a month and a week up until Selection Sunday, and there will be the reveal of the top 16 seeds in the bracket. The selection committee is doing their top 16 review this Saturday at 12:30 on CBS. So you guys know I'm going to be making a video about it and giving my thoughts and showing the committee's top 16 teams. So that'll be pretty fun in like 5 days or whatever it is from now. But anyway, we will take a look here at the bracket. We have Gonzaga remaining the 1 seed over there, Baylor remaining a 1 seed as well. I think Baylor is actually on another COVID pause right now. I think they've postponed 3 more games, and I think their next scheduled game is February 18th. We'll see if that actually happens or not. But if we take a look at Region 1, we have Iowa down to a 4. I think they've lost 2 in a row now at this point. Then we have Drake down to 11. Their undefeated season came to an end with a loss to Valparaiso, who is like 8-12 or something like that. Then we have UCLA down to a 7 after losing to USC, Seton Hall up to a 10, and then Alabama falling down to a 2. They made it to the 1 line for one bracketology, but ended up losing to Missouri this weekend and fall back down to the 2 line. If we go to Region 2, still Baylor remaining the 1 seed over there, but then Loyola Chicago now up to an 8 seed, and they're ranked in college basketball for, I think, the first time since the 80s, which is just absolutely insane. They're number 23 now. This is a better Loyola Chicago team than the one that made it to the Final Four a couple of years ago. So watch out for Loyola Chicago. They still have that center Cameron Krutwig from that Final Four run, so it'll be pretty interesting to see if he makes a difference here in the tournament. Then we have Purdue up to a 5, Utah State new to the field as a 12, USC up to a 4, Creighton down to a 6, Boise State down to an 11, Missouri up to a 3 after that huge win over Alabama. Louisville up to a 7. I know their coach Chris Mack tested positive. And then LSU up to a 10. Then over here in Region 3, we got Michigan remaining the 1 seed. Sam Houston State new to the field as a 16. They just keep hopping in and out as their conference automatic qualifier. Then Xavier down to an 8. Wofford new to the field as a 13. Rutgers, my team, not my team, Kentucky's my team, but they are one of my teams that I believe in. They fell all the way down to an 11 at one point, but now they're making their way back up to a 6. And then a playing game of Stanford and UConn. Then we have Texas Tech up to a 3. North Carolina up to a 10 after a big win over Duke this past weekend. And then UMBC up to a 15 seed. But then over there in Region 4, we have a new number 1 seed. We have Ohio State making their way back up to the 1 line now. I know I've been giving them a lot of crap over the course of this season. I mean, I just don't believe in them. I mean, they're an Elite 8 team to me, but they're just not a national championship team. And I know I got a ton of Ohio State fans in my comment section who tell me otherwise, but it's just what I believe. I don't believe that Ohio State can win the national championship this year. But either way, they found themselves up to the 1 line. I think they've won like 7 other last 8 games or something like that, which is pretty crazy. But either way, congratulations to them for making it back up to the 1 line. Texas State new to the field as a 16, Clemson up to an 8, Arkansas up to a 9, Wisconsin down to a 5, then we have Oregon and VCU as the playing game there, Kansas down to a 6, St. Bonaventure down to an 11, Indiana up to a 10, and then Eastern Washington is new to the field as a 15. So we will go ahead and take a look here at the bubble as well. We have on the bubble, last 4 byes are Indiana, LSU, Drake, and Boise State. Drake just doesn't really have a good non-conference record at all. And then we have last 4 in of Stanford, UConn, Oregon, and VCU. First 4 out are Colorado State, St. Louis, St. John's, who got that big win over Villanova a couple of weeks, or I think last week or something like that. They've won like 6 in a row or something, so you may need to watch out for them. And then Penn State. Then the next 4 out are Maryland, Richmond, SMU, and Western Kentucky. But before I get into the bracket, I will show you guys how to use it. If you go to Excel bracket on Google, go to this second option right here, this Vertex 42. It is the tournament bracket template for Excel, and it brings you to the 2020 NCAA men's championship bracket. And then you just have to edit all the teams here, and just all you gotta do is just edit the teams, put the right teams in there, and they can build your own bracket here. Just change the title to 2021 or whatever you want to do. But yeah, it takes like 5 minutes to do. I can't put it in the description of this video, and I've been getting a lot of comments to do that, but I just can't do it for some reason. But either way, let's finally go ahead and get into this bracket. Before I do though, I want to say, if you are watching this video, the food item for this week is fruit snacks. So if you are watching the video right now, I mean, I love fruit snacks to snack on it, especially as a kid, even as an adult now. I don't really care, I just love fruit snacks. Comment fruit snacks down below. But kicking it off here in the Region 1, we're going to have, obviously, Gonzaga beating the winner of NCAA and Team Fairleigh Dickinson, which will be Gonzaga. Or no, I don't know who's going to win the 16 matchup there. But then I think that Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State can beat San Diego State. That team is really weird. They just beat Texas this past weekend, but then they couldn't beat Kansas last night or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what to think of Oklahoma State. And we're going to have Florida State here moving on past Belmont. Iowa moving on past UAB. Virginia Tech, I think, will beat Drake. I don't know. I don't want to overreact to Drake's one loss this season, but it was to Valparaiso. And I've taken another look at their resume. They just haven't beaten any, I don't think they've beaten a single tournament team. And then Texas, I think, was going to beat Siena. Seton Hall, I think, will be able to upset UCLA there as a 10-7, and Alabama will beat Northeastern. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Gonzaga moving on past Oklahoma State. Florida State will fall to Iowa. I do think that Iowa can make it there to the Sweet 16. Then I'm going to go with Virginia Tech pulling off the upset here, 6-3 over Texas. Texas, I just don't know what's going on with them. They've lost 4 out of their last 5 games or something like that. They need to right that ship and turn their season around. I say that as they're a 3 seed, but they were up to a 1 seed at one point. They just don't really have any momentum right now. Then I'm going to go with Alabama moving on past Seton Hall. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we're going to go with Gonzaga over Iowa, and then Alabama over Virginia Tech. But then for a spot in the Final Four, out of this region, it's got to be Gonzaga. I don't think anybody can beat Gonzaga in that region. It just depends on all the matchups, of course, but I think that Gonzaga is almost a surefire bet to make it into the Final Four out of that region. Then if we go over here, we're going to have Baylor moving on past, or in Region 2, we got Baylor moving on past the winner of that playing game. Then I'm going to go with Minnesota here, moving on past Loyola Chicago. I do believe in Loyola Chicago, but I think that Minnesota can beat anybody in the country if they catch fire. That team has gotten some huge wins. They've also been very inconsistent. I think they have a losing record in the Big Ten. Don't quote me on that, because I know they did just beat Nebraska last night, but I do think that Minnesota can get the victory there over Loyola Chicago. I'm going to go with Purdue moving on past Utah State. USC moving on past Winthrop. Then I'm going to go with the slight upset pick here and go with the 11 seed Boise State Broncos over Creighton, then Missouri over Grand Canyon, then Louisville over LSU, and then Illinois over Cleveland State. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Baylor moving on past Minnesota, USC and Evan Mobley moving on past Purdue, then Missouri I think will be able to beat Boise State there, and then Illinois will move on past Louisville. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we got Baylor moving on past USC. Same thing with Illinois moving on past Missouri. And then if you guys have been watching my recent my last 2 bracketologies, I think I have had Illinois moving on to the Final Four out of Region 4, and then beating Gonzaga, and then moving on to the national championship game where they would play Baylor. But just the way that the bracketology was made for this one, they find themselves losing here in the Elite Eight. Instead of losing in the national championship game, they were a 2 seed last week too, or last Friday at least. They will find themselves losing in the Elite Eight here to Baylor. So Baylor is going to be moving on to the Final Four out of Region 2. Then if we go down here to Region 3, we got Michigan moving on past Sam Houston State. Xavier, I think, will beat BYU. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here and go with Toledo over West Virginia. Don't really know why. I just feel like Toledo can beat West Virginia. I'm going to go with Tennessee moving on past Wofford. Rutgers will beat the winner of Stanford and UConn, which I have no idea who would honestly win that, probably Stanford. Then Texas Tech will beat UC Irvine. North Carolina, I think, can beat Florida there as a slight 10-7 upset. And then Houston will beat UMBC. We won't be able to see the Retrievers move on in the tournament this year. Then for a spot in Sweet 16, we have Xavier losing to Michigan here. Then Tennessee moving on past Toledo. Texas Tech moving on past Rutgers. And then I'm going to go with an oh God, I had something in my throat there. But I'm going to go with an upset pick here with a 10-2 upset of North Carolina over Houston. I know I don't like North Carolina, especially as a Kentucky fan, and especially what they did to us in 2017 with the Luke May shot. But I do think that Roy Williams is starting to right this ship. Houston did just lose to East Carolina. I think that there can be a huge upset there in a 10-2 before the Sweet 16. I think North Carolina can beat Houston. But then we're going to have a Tennessee falling to Michigan here. Michigan will be moving on to the Elite Eight. Same thing with Texas Tech over North Carolina. And you guys know, I have a ton of Michigan fans as well as Ohio State fans in my comment section, which is pretty funny with those two teams hating each other. But I got to go with Texas Tech here. I just believe in Texas Tech. Michigan, if you're a Michigan fan, I would have you in the Final Four. If Texas Tech wasn't in your region, I got to go with Texas Tech here. I just believe in them more with what Chris Beard has done. He's taken this team to the national championship game 2 years ago in the most recent tournament that we had. Mac McClung in there, Kevin McCullough. I think that they can get the job done. But then over here in Region 4, we will have Ohio State moving on past Texas State. Clemson, I think, can beat Arkansas. Wisconsin will beat the winner of Oregon and VCU, which, I mean, it doesn't matter because Wisconsin's going to win that. I mean, Wisconsin as a 5 seed is a big upset opportunity for a good, like, mid-major team as a 12. Like, if Belmont had been facing Wisconsin, I would have gone with Belmont. Or even Western Kentucky if they can get past UAB in the Conference USA standings. But in this scenario, I got Wisconsin moving on. Then Oklahoma will beat Liberty. Kansas will beat St. Bonaventure. Virginia will beat Navy. Then I'm going to go with Indiana pulling off the 10-7 upset of Colorado. And then Villanova moving on past Eastern Washington. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Ohio State here moving on past Clemson in a rematch of the college football semifinal. Actually, I can't remember. Yeah, it was the semifinal because then Clemson lost or got destroyed by Alabama in the in the national. Or no, I don't remember. I think it was Ohio State that ended up moving on to. I don't know. I don't follow college football too much. But then we have Oklahoma here moving on past Wisconsin to the Sweet 16. Virginia, I think, will be able to beat Kansas there, and then Villanova will move on past Indiana. But then for a spot in the Elite Eight, I do have Ohio State moving on past Oklahoma, and then I am going to go with, actually, I thought about going with Virginia there, but I'm going to go with Villanova moving on. And then you know what? I'll give some lip service to Ohio State fans here. I will put Ohio State in the Final Four. I don't believe in them, but it's just the way the bracket works. Kind of same thing with Illinois. Like, I believe in Illinois, but it's just the way the bracket works. I had them losing in the Elite Eight this time around. I have Ohio State in the Final Four, so all you Ohio State fans can go ahead and thank me for putting you guys in the Final Four and for having you guys win a region for once. I think this is the first time I put them in the Final Four all year, just the way the bracket works. And then we're going to have them lose to Gonzaga here, which, I mean, that one's pretty obvious. Then we're also going to have Baylor here moving on past Texas Tech. That one's pretty obvious as well. Baylor hasn't lost a game hasn't won a game by less than 8 points this season, which sets up the inevitable matchup of Gonzaga and Baylor. And you know what? I'll switch it up here and go with Gonzaga. It's been a while since I picked Gonzaga to win the national championship in these bracketologies. Why not switch it back up and go with Gonzaga to win it all? So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe if you did. Make sure you comment the food item that I said earlier in the video below. And I will see you all later.